Welcome to Echoes of Erowid, whispers from the other side of the mind. On Echoes of Erowid, we journey through stories of transformation, wonder, fear, and insight, all inspired by real trip reports. Every episode blends narration with surreal visuals and reflective commentary, creating a safe space to learn about the human mind under extraordinary conditions. This is not about glorification, but about understanding, education, and the mystery of consciousness. And today we have a trip submission from a tripper by the name of Tiny Idiot. The title of the submission reads, "Is this what people call fun? An experience with heroin." March 21st, 2016. The dose: 48 milligrams total of insufflated heroin in powder crystal form. This is Echoes of Erowid. Let the story begin. So over my now 3 years of proper drug taking, I have encountered many highs, drugs that I love, and disappointments. I have taken most of the normal drugs: cannabis, mushrooms, LSD, DMT, salvia, 2-CBIIE, MDMA, MDA, amphetamine, 4-MMC, 4-MEC cocaine, ketamine, legals, plus was using fish scale cocaine almost daily for 4 months, and also had a 3-month period of extremely heavy MDMA use. I had never tried any opiates, and so as an ever-excitable fan of psychoactive drugs, I fancied going straight for the biggest and most stigmatized one. Knowing exactly where my drugs come from, I bought 200 mg of number 4 Southeast Asian white heroin. This particular batch had lab tested at 88% dimorphine, 12% morphine, and the massively over-enthusiastic junkies who had tried it confirmed that it was indeed the best thing they had ever put in their veins. I'm certain the purity was sky high, if not exactly as the dealer claimed. Having bought the heroin, I planned to try it with some close friends on a chilled night in. All of the friends would be first-timers also, though when the evening came around and I asked whether anyone wanted to try heroin with me, they thought I was mental and had gone a step too far with the new drugs I had brought for them to try with me. I still wanted to try it, and so a few days later, I took a tiny allergy testing dose of 6 milligrams, snorted, just to see if it worked. I sniffed it, with a heart beating very fast at the anticipation of trying my first of the big 3: heroin, meth, crack. However, 10 minutes after taking it, I just felt really sleepy and itchy, so went to bed with heavy limbs and had a good night's sleep. I woke up in the morning feeling quite astounded that this high-purity, insanely addictive drug had amounted to just be a good night's sleep with some satisfying scratching. I figured that I hadn't taken enough to get the heroin high that people say is 1,000,000 times better than sex. Though I think sex is pretty overrated for intensity of pleasure anyway. Reckon I have really weak orgasms by comparison to other dudes, but can happily say that to me, a good MDMA come up or 4-MMC high is a prolonged better than sex experience. But anyway, back to the story. So a week or so later, I decided to go for 20-midodine insufflated to hit the bottom of the heavy dosage. Within a few minutes, I was pretty aware that I was getting heavy and relaxed, with that same sleepy feeling. I watched some Psytrance Festival videos on YouTube and waited. By 20 minutes in, I was feeling no euphoria, just a bit stuck to the bed comfy. I decided to shoot for euphoria, and so at about 25 minutes in, I snorted another 20 mg line. Within minutes, I was feeling much more stuck to the bed, noticed my eyes were drooping a lot, and I was nodding in and out of daydreams about absolutely nothing. I ceased to care at all about the videos or anything ever, and felt a feeling that's hard to describe. I can only describe it as intense nothing or an overwhelming hollowness. The drug was very strong, but it was just nothing and empty. I certainly wasn't having what I consider to be fun or feeling very good. The drug was very strong, but it was just nothing and empty. I certainly wasn't having what I considered to be fun or feeling very good. I noticed that my breathing was incredibly shallow and that I couldn't take deep breaths when I tried, which was weird, and was later to find out that respiratory suppression is what kills people on heroin. Not knowing this at the time, I decided to have one last line to really push it and see if I unlock any further, any fun from this. I weighed out an 8-minute line, as I was already extremely intoxicated after having an incredibly difficult walk from my bed to the desk. I then sniffed it and went back to the bed. I don't really know when I went out, but I knocked myself out with it and woke up at just gone 7 the next morning. Now the people in my house don't leave until 8 in the morning, and I woke up at 7, feeling absolutely as rough as it gets and desperate to vomit. Of course, I wasn't too keen on rushing to the toilet and throwing up, whilst clearly intoxicated with pin pupils in the same bathroom as others who are brushing their teeth before work. So I waited and fought off nausea for a whole hour, shivering and soaked in sweat, covered in goosebumps. It was grim. Finally, the front door closed, and I ran out to the toilet. More of an intoxicated shuffle. I was still far from normal, and dry heaved into it, unable to actually vomit. I never managed to vomit, often to my detriment. Once I felt comfortable to leave the toilet, I took myself downstairs and had my normal breakfast. I had to pretty much force it down, but I knew that it would make me feel better. Mistake. As I had finished and was taking the plate out to the dishwasher, I had to throw up again, so I ran out the back door into the garden and dry wretched like some kind of shivering creature until I felt I could walk back inside. I brushed my teeth, then just took myself back to bed, where I dozed in and out of sleep and horrible periods of sweaty but cold awake until maybe 2 in the afternoon. Time absolutely flew by though, completely the opposite to time on psychedelics. Once I woke, I got on with my day and was feeling completely normal again by the evening, near enough 24 hours after I took the heroin. In summary, although I've never been a fan of sedative-type drugs, hate smoking weed when sober, etc., and I'm pretty much all about the hype or introspective, thought-provoking drugs, I really can't see how anybody finds this a pleasurable way to spend their time. If you are consumed by troubles that eat you up every day, then I could see how the absolutely desolate desert that is your mind on heroin would be a preferable state. Also, if you haven't slept in a while and find sleeping your life away in fast forward a good use of life, or if you're just into scratching a really good itch, I can see the appeal. So, if you are an insomniac with constant flashbacks to your history of child abuse, can't stand proper motor control, love to itch, hate feeling warm in the morning, but equally have a desperate urge to get a good sweat on and enjoy a surprise vom to get the day going before you crawl back to bed, plus have a fear of pooing, then heroin is totally the drug for you. I flushed the remainder of it down the toilet despite having paid just over $40 for the 200 milligrams. It was that awful, in my opinion, in my body, compared against how I like to feel and what I consider euphoria. By far the most boring drug I have tried, coupled with the worst come down ever. 1 out of 10 would not try again. I hope you enjoyed my little story about when I used heroin. It sucked, and that's it. Each story reminds us that consciousness is vast, fragile, and endlessly mysterious. If tonight's journey resonated with you, consider subscribing to join us as we explore more voices, more visions, and more echoes from the hidden corners of experience. Until next time, may your dreams be gentle and your waking hours filled with clarity. This is Echoes of Erowid, whispering from the other side of the mind.